Alright guys, this is going to be a short video explaining the benefits of working with smart objects. Now, if you don't know what a smart object is, it is essentially a way that allows us to work with an image non-destructively by actually duplicating the image into its own document. Okay, so what does that mean? Let me show you. So if I come over to this photo of the arch right here, if we look at the thumbnail, we will see that there aren't any icons on the thumbnail. We don't see that little smart object icon in the lower corner. And if we right click on the layer itself, not the thumbnail, but the layer, we will see the option to convert to smart object. Watch carefully here. You'll see that at the moment I have this arch document along with a couple other documents that we'll get to in a second. But I only have this one image of this arch. So if I come over here and I right click on the layer and I choose convert to smart object, you'll notice that little icon right there pops up in the lower right hand corner. Now, just to be clear, nothing has changed. Our image is still the same size. Again, you haven't noticed any physical changes to the image, but if I double click on this thumbnail now, it takes me into this document right here, layer 01 PSB. Nothing has changed other than the fact that now instead of working on the actual image in our arch document, we're actually working with an instance of this image. The original layer is now saved onto its own document. Now, you don't need to worry about this document, but I'll show you some benefits of it in just a second. For now, we could just turn it off and go back to our original arch image. Now, what are the benefits of working with smart objects? Well, first off, we have preservation of resolution. And what I mean by that is this. So right now we have a little smart object icon in the corner. If I want to get rid of that and just turn this into a regular object, I can right click on the layer itself, not on the icon, but on the layer. I can go down to where it says rasterize layer. And you'll just notice that the smart object icon goes away. So if say I'm making a collage and I'm resizing lots of images and I decide to hit Command T for free transform, that gives me my free transform handles, and if I shrink this down thinking that maybe I just want this to be a small image in the overall collage, and then I hit return, and then I maybe change my mind and think, well, maybe I need it a little bigger. Now as I scale it back up, you will see a noticeable loss of resolution. Basically what Photoshop did was it discarded all of that extra pixel information when we shrunk it down. So if I hit Command Z and I go back a few steps, if I right click on the layer itself and I choose convert to smart object, what that actually does is it preserves an instance of this in its own layer. Again, I can double click on this and now we're actually seeing layer 0. If you look up here, it says layer 0. So if I come over to my arch collage and I decide that I want to shrink this down and move it over here and twist it a little bit and hit return, and then maybe decide, you know what, I think I want to have it back the size it was, you'll notice that now I can stretch it back out, I can unrotate it, and there's no loss of quality. And again, that's because in the end we weren't actually working with the arch photo, we were working with an instance of the arch photo. The actual image is still over here, preserved in layer 0. So that's one benefit right there. Another benefit of working with smart objects is something called smart filters. So let's go ahead and turn this off. Turn off the smart object. So we right click on the layer and we rasterize the layer. Simply put, it's no longer a smart object. Well, if I come up to my filters and I grab a blur filter, something like a Gaussian blur, and I crank that up so it's nice and blurry, and click OK, first thing you'll notice is there's really no way to undo that beyond hitting Command Z. And if I have to hit Command Z every time I want to undo something, if I go a few steps further, that's not going to be an option anymore. So one nice thing about Smart Objects is that if we right click on this and we choose Convert to Smart Object, now if I go up and add a blur filter, this is what we call a smart filter. And I can go ahead and add it now, and you'll see that now we have the layer here, and underneath it we have that smart filter, which at any point I can turn off, or I can double click on the Gaussian blur right there. That is going to allow me to then modify that. So again, it's all about working non-destructively. It's all about being able to change things later and not have to start from scratch. The last thing I want to show you is something that's pretty cool here. So let's say we have this photo here of someone sitting at their laptop, and I decide to grab this arch image. I'm going to go ahead and delete the smart filter by dragging it to the trash. And let's say I decide to come over here and select this entire image. I'm going to hit Command A to select all. Okay, when you go to copy something, if you want to copy all of it, Command A allows you to select all of it. You could also go up to Select and choose Select All, but that's way too time consuming. So Command A allows me to select it, Command C allows me to copy it, and if I come over to this image and maybe I want to replace that photo, I could hit Command V and paste it in. Now you'll notice, obviously this image is huge, so I need to scale it down. So I'll hit Command T to scale it down a little bit. But before I do that, let's go ahead and just right click on the layer and choose Convert to Smart Object. Now it's a smart object, so before I start scaling it, now I know that if for some reason I need to make it this big again, I'll have that option. But I go ahead and hit Command T just simply to scale it down. And if I drag it down here, and then we hit Command plus to scale up the whole image. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this kind of roughly right here. And you can see that, yeah, we could probably twist this and make it fit, but I want to show you something kind of cool. If we go up to Edit, you'll see the option to transform, and then you will see the option to distort. I like distort because what it does is it allows you to just put the pins in the corner and get the perspective right. You know, I do a lot of television screen replacements when I do real estate photography, and most of the time we're looking at them from an angle, so one side is bigger and they kind of skew due to perspective. But anyways, going up to Edit, Free Transform, Distort is just like Free Transform, but it gives you some unique controls that are actually really cool in certain situations. Okay, so we have a smart object laid on top of this background image. If I hit return, now check this out. This is the cool part. If I double click on the arch image, now that's taking me into this layer. And if I come over here and I type out some text, and let's go ahead and just give this a quick 2-second format. We'll try to make it look just a little more interesting. Let's go ahead and scale it up. And again, all I'm doing is with the text selected, going over to the properties and just clicking on these T's right here and using them like a slider. Once I feel good, I switch over to the Move tool. I can drag this down a little bit. It's a little tough to read, so let's add an effect. We'll go down to Effects, down at the bottom of the Layers tab, and I'm going to choose Outer Glow, just because it's something we haven't really looked at yet. Outer Glow is kind of cool. You can pick whatever color you want by just simply clicking in the fill box. I kind of like that green, so we'll stick with that. You could also come over here and turn the spread way up. Got to hit OK first. Then we'll crank that spread way up. And let's see, size. I think I like the size up and the spread down. That gives you a nice feathered fall off. And that looks fine, so we'll click OK. Okay, so now we've created this text not on our Arch document, but on this layer instance, our smart layer instance in Photoshop. If I hit Command S, that's going to save the changes we made. And if we go back to the laptop image, notice how the check this out is now showing up inside of the document. Now again, we don't have any text layers in this document. What we did was we double clicked and we went into the saved version because now this is just simply an instance of this photo inside of this laptop document. But the actual photo itself is here, and if I make changes to it here and save them, they automatically update here, which is really cool. Because at any point I can go back. If I take this text and I delete it and I hit save, and now we come back over here, you notice that text is gone. So again, maybe I have a client that wants to see 5 different photos inside of here. Well, it's not tough to then come in here. Let's go ahead and just flatten this. I'll select all these layers. We'll choose flatten image. Copy this, select all. I hit Command A to select everything, Command C to copy. If I come over to this laptop's photo now and I hit Command V, again, notice this new image isn't a smart object, so I need to right click on the layer and choose Convert to Smart Object. Now that I've done that, I've changed this from being the only version of this photo to just simply being an instance. Again, if I double click on it, I can see that it now lives in its own layer. So if I go back over here and I think, okay, let's turn off the Arch. Let's take this one. Let's go up to Edit, Transform, Distort. Notice we get the bounding box, and I can grab these corners and drag them into the corners of the laptop for a quick screen replacement. There we go. And hit return. So again, we've done a screen replacement. We have different options we could show the client, and maybe the client has some text they want to try out, or maybe they have some different colors. Rather than making the adjustments in here, we could double click on this, go over here, maybe add a hue saturation adjustment layer by going down to the bottom of the layers tab, clicking on the adjustment layer icon, and going up to hue saturation. So now we have this filter, and maybe I grab the hue and I tweak the colors a little bit. Again, I'm doing this in its own little document now, and as long as I hit Command S to save, I can go over to this one and it'll automatically update. Do you need to do this for every single image you work with? Not necessarily. But I wanted you to know the benefits of working with smart objects. If you're going to be scaling things up, if you want things to be interchangeable, and I would say most importantly, the use of smart filters. If you're about to add a filter to something, especially something like the Camera Raw filter, which is really a great filter. It takes you into this whole different workspace, which we'll get into later, and allows you to make changes. This is a smart filter, and I can make color changes in here. I can do all sorts of things and click OK. And because this is a smart object, I can add that filter right here in the document, and I have the option to turn it on, turn it off. I can always double click on it, and that'll take me back to the editing space where I can edit it. Now again, all this is that you're looking at right here is just a Camera Raw filter. Camera Raw is just another environment for editing photos, and we'll talk about it and its importance a little bit later. But all I really wanted to cover with this was the benefit of smart objects. So again, the benefits are it preserves resolution. It allows you to use non-destructive effects, and it allows you to update things inside of other documents. So, a lot of benefits there, and again, it's as simple as just finding the image and right-clicking. If you want it to be a smart object, you'll scroll down and choose Convert to Smart Object. In this case, I clicked Rasterize Layer, and that turned off the smart object. So now if I grab any filters, they're not going to be editable later. But to convert to a smart object, find something that doesn't have the icon in the corner, scrub down, make sure to right-click on the layer, not the icon, and choose Convert to Smart Object. And that's it, folks.